But yeah, so I somebody shared a video of you doing a live Q&A on Facebook a couple of weeks ago, and I was watching it, and it was really interesting. And I thought, oh, you'd be interesting to talk to. and luckily enough, you replied to my message, and here you are.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so thanks.
Great to be here. Well, thanks for having me.
No, my pleasure. But you've achieved quite a lot. You've got different hats.
Yeah.
And it seems to be going well at the moment.
Yeah, I feel like I've been very lucky. I think the one thing I've got, I don't have the most amount of talent, but I feel like my work ethic is probably the thing that I'm proud of, I guess. Yeah. And I genuinely have a passion for what I do. I love what I do, so I genuinely do wake up. I'm one of those weird people that wakes up and thinks, Monday, yeah. Which I know is probably weird, but I love that. I love the fact that, it gets to the end of the week and I'm still working at 12, 1 in the morning on a Friday night while all my friends have gone out.
Yeah.
Weird, but I like it.
That's good. I mean, that's the dream, really, isn't it? I mean, some people, I've spoken to people in the past that have picked a job based on how much they're not going to be there. Days off, finishing early, holidays, whatever. And I think, well, that's such a strange thing. I'm going to choose to do this based on how little I have to do it.
Yeah, I think you get that quite a lot in business as well, where people will start their own business thinking if they're their own boss, they can pick and choose what they do.
Have days off.
Absolutely, not realising that when you go down that route, then it's a lifestyle choice of you don't get days off. It's just one of those things. You are responsible for everything. So from when you wake up to when you go to sleep is your responsibility level.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, that's it. And it's a difficult transition. I think I struggled a little bit in the initial stages of it, having that much freedom is nice, and you can slack. But then it doesn't take long of not doing what you should have, and then it bites you in the arse, and you think, okay, this is what happens.
And it becomes addictive the other way around as well, where you start working on something and it starts to build. And then you start thinking, wow, if I can put a few more hours into this, and then that starts to grow, and then all of a sudden, it's like real life Sims. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, you really see the effect of the positive and negative, and then it's down to you. Everything that happens, whether it's good or bad, it's absolutely your fault.
Yeah, and I think that for the social media stuff that I do, I think that's probably the biggest message is taking control. As long as I've spent the last 20 years of my life dealing with musicians, in my case, and businesses a bit, but especially musicians. That want a career in music, and because they're constantly told why they can't have a career in music, by friends and maybe family or people that they know, all of a sudden when someone says, look, you can do this, however, it's going to be immensely hard work, not technically, but it's going to be immensely hard work. If you're up for it, you can do it. What I really want someone to get to 5 years, 10 years down the line, and if they haven't been successful, at least they've only got themselves to blame, rather than becoming bitter about the industry in quotation marks, as it were. Because it really, especially, I'm such a big believer in we are in the greatest time for being a musician. I think we're in the greatest time, because it's just evolution. I mean, it was only a few hundred years ago that kings were still chopping people's heads off. And now we're at a point now where you want any bit of information in the entire world. If you want to find out how tall Tom Cruise is, I can find that out on my phone in 20 seconds. Any bit of information in the world.
That's it.
You can contact people and you can talk to people anywhere in the world. You can take control now more than ever before. So we're in such an amazing time. It's just how you actually utilize those skills and the technology.
That's it. That's so true. I mentioned it in a previous podcast with Charlotte Miles about learning and the process, and that we do have so much information at our fingertips because, well, one of the things that Louis C.K. said in an interview, he was saying that, like in The Matrix, where I think it's flying a helicopter and the character couldn't fly a helicopter, so they downloaded the information and they could. And he said, that's what it's like, except it's a library and it takes a bit longer.
Absolutely.
But you can learn anything. Some things are harder than others, but it's just time and practice. And, that really, that's quite powerful for me. That really worked. I thought, oh, yeah, I can. So instead of saying, oh, I can't do that, it's like, well, you can't do it yet. It's like if you're prepared to put the work in, sky's the limit.
It wasn't that long ago where you'd leave school and that would be learning over and done with.
Yeah.
And that would be that.
Yeah,
Whereas, if you hadn't pretty much grasped French by the time you'd left school, unless you went to live in France for some reason, on the whole, that'd be the end of your French. Whereas now, like 30 quid, download an app, which is going to be an extensive it's probably free really, but extensive.
Well, I've used an app called Duolingo, really, really good app. Yeah, that's free. And the way it teaches you is quite innovative as well, and it's supposed to be faster and only requires 10 to 15 minutes a day. There you go, and there's 20 or 30 languages on there.
It's crazy, isn't it? And then that evolution, because all of a sudden you're learning and evolving, and then kids are evolving, and it goes round and round. So that the world is evolving faster and faster and faster and faster.
Yeah.
I was literally reading an interview this morning about Elon Musk saying about the 5 jobs that he feels will be gone within the next 5 to 10 years. One was an airline pilot. He said that's going to be out very soon.
Yeah.
The other one was lorry driver. He just said it's going to be lorry drivers because everything's just going to be automated.
Yeah.
And whilst that's both terrifying and exciting at the same time, but just shows the evolution, how fast it is. We are as musicians. For me as a musician and helping musicians, I just think it's so inspiring to look at the things that you can achieve that even 10 years ago, let alone 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could go back in time 40 years and say to the music industry and say, it's much harder in the year 2007, they'd punch you in the face.
Yeah.
They'd be like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We have a choice of getting in a tour bus and touring around the country again and again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
The only difference between now and then is they did actually have venues and people would go out to gigs, which was a bonus. But if you could give those guys the stuff that we have now, God, it'd be scary.
Yeah, that's it. But then I suppose, if you are a musician at the moment, you don't have that experience of not having all those things at your fingertips.
Yeah.
It's just a different way of approaching it. But I mean, it's created a global community, which does mean you can reach more people and faster. And find out more. If you need to find the head of a record label, you can probably do it.
Yeah, and I do think one thing it has done is it's created so many options that now people don't really know where to start, or they spread themselves too thin.
Yeah.
Or they get a bit lazy.
Yeah.
So whereas for me, when you gave me a shout, I was like, that's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. I get to just come and just hijack your podcast. I'm like, I'm on that straight away. And bands can do the same thing with other bands, or with not just with bands, but with with gigs that they put on or festivals. There's so many things that you can just jump on and find out about. I mean, how would you have found out about those things years ago? Nowadays, a bit of a Twitter search, sorted.
Yeah, it's done. It's all right there. So you're a musician, amongst other things. You're a bassist.
I am a bassist.
Play other instruments or just the bass?
Well,
not just the bass. That makes it sound like it's not much of an instrument.
You are right. As instruments go, I am definitely a bassist and nothing else. But I sing as well.
Okay.
But I wouldn't advertise that, even though I just did. So
it's too late now. Yeah. So when did you start playing bass then?
So I started playing when I was 15, and I remember classic bassist story where my best mate was a guitarist.
Yeah.
And he said to me, do you know what? If you played guitar, we could start a band. And I was like, yes. And then he said, except I'm the guitarist, so you'll have to be the bass player. So I was like, great.
That'll do.
I don't know what that is. So I went home, saw my mum, and I was like, look, for my birthday, can I have a bass guitar?
Yeah.
So she said yes, and they got me this I don't even know, it was called a Ninja bass. I think I was the only guy in the world ever to have a Ninja bass, but it was silver, and I loved it. And I instantly obsessed, like literally obsessed.
Wow.
I was the epitome of fat uncool kid. Like, I was literally that kid. Just sat in my room playing bass, being obsessed with it. The one thing in my favour was, as is still the case today, is there's such a lack of bass players in the world that you can join a band almost instantly, purely because you're that needed.
Yeah.
That the guitarist will say, "We'll take him. We'll just have to train him." You're like, when you're in school and they have you're playing football or rugby or whatever, and you start picking the teams, and it gets to the last guys, and you go, "We'll have him, and you can have them too."
Yeah.
Like those two literally add up to one. And I was like, I was that kid as the bass player.
Yeah.
But obsessed, in bands, and then all of a sudden you start understanding. I mean, for me, being in a band and then the band started doing well. My background is I did my GCSEs. I failed all of my GCSEs.
Yeah, okay.
Went home. My mother went mad, and she made me resit the entire year. So all my friends went off to do sixth form, and I had to sit back a year, and I redid all my GCSEs, and I failed all of them. So I passed one. Yeah, consistently bad. Yeah. So I got 1 at that point. So I was thinking, well, my mum thought I was going to be a lawyer. Probably not. No. And so I went to do a performing arts course, which was, local kind of classic musician. And don't know what to do. I'll be a musician. I remember saying to my mum, "Don't worry, I've got a plan. I'm going to be a rock star." And the look on her face.
That's not a plan.
So yeah, I did that, enjoyed that. And then I got into a band which started to do quite well. And we got signed to a singles deal. We put out a single that did quite well, and we got signed to a major, which was very exciting. But then we got shelved, so we waited and waited and waited. Nothing happened, and we got dropped off the label.
Okay.
So whilst I know loads and loads of people that their bands have taken off and done really well, there's a lot more of them. The bands get signed and then nothing happens.
Yeah.
And you wait, and all of a sudden you're thinking, I've been told by everyone that we're going to be this massive band and everything's going to work out, and I'm just waiting for someone to press that button, and then it doesn't happen. And all of a sudden, I was 19 years old, and my career had literally started and failed at the same time.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, I don't know what to do. So I remember thinking, well, I have to make money. So I went to work in a shampoo factory, and I lasted about 3 hours before I just thought, I can't do this. This is awful. My job was polishing the top of shampoo bottles all day. And I just thought, this isn't for me. So I put the shampoo bottle down, I left. And I just thought, I have no idea how the music industry works, even though I've been signed.
Yeah.
But I do know that it's the only one thing I can do is play bass.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to have to figure it out. And I think I left where I'm from in Swansea. I moved to Guildford. And I just thought, the only thing I've got in my favour is I feel like I'll work hard. And I think even today, that's, I look at people's talent, and I look at their skill set, and I look at what people have in their arsenal, and I feel very insecure about that. And I think the only one thing I've got is I'll just have to work harder than you.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, hard work always wins, doesn't it? Yeah, and sometimes it's just a case of you did it for longer than the other person.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
longevity.
You were still there at the end and ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for me as well is I'm always prepared to learn. I've got a real sort of excitement for learning things, and I think when